Hi, this is John Doe, aka Frags with the DNB Academy, and welcome to another video. Today, we're gonna be making kicks. And now since Serum has 3 oscillators, at least 3 main oscillators, we can take advantage of that and actually make kicks better than ever on Serum. Alright, so let's dive right into it. Okay, so for the first initial part, we need to kind of follow the same concept we've always been doing pretty much with the previous version of Serum. But now, since we have 3 available oscillators, we can do things a little bit differently, all right? So what we're gonna do is, first part, we're gonna make the body, first oscillator. Oscillator B, we're gonna make the transient. Oscillator C, we're gonna give it another sort of like acoustic-y kind of layer to it. And then with the noise oscillator, we're gonna add the fuzz at the end of our kick. So we're gonna actually make a pretty complex one. So to start things off, we're gonna go into our analogs, basic shapes. We're gonna set our random phase to 0, our phase here to 90, and then we're gonna start shaping it up here with envelopes, right? So I'm gonna set this to envelope, and the first one is gonna be assigned to our level. So in this case, let me bring this down a bit. Somewhere around here, around the range of a kick drum. Now we're gonna shape it up something like this. Sounds super flat, but that's because we have no pitch envelope still. That's the next step. So we're gonna create another envelope, and we're gonna assign this one to the course. We're gonna go to our matrix and click here so we can make this polar, all right? And then just tune it somewhere around like either 12% or 24 here. In this case, we want this to be on that range. And now we're gonna design our pitch envelope. We want something that goes along these lines. So now we're starting to have something that resembles a kick, actually, all right? So let's increase the main a bit. Tweak our shape a little bit, so we just a tiny bit smaller. And we can tune it down a couple semitones. So we get some lower range, okay? Nice. So on the first oscillator, that's what we get, the body of the kick. Now we're gonna flip into oscillator B, and we're gonna create our little click, our transient. So let's assign LFO3 to the level first, so we can already have a notion of what we're gonna do. So we're gonna make something super small like this, okay? Then we're gonna also set the random phase to 0, and here we're gonna make something like 95. Right, so the phase is not the same and it will cancel each other. So at this point, we should have something like this, right? But now we're gonna bring this down to 2, to the same range, and we need to assign this the same LFO, it can be the same, to the course. We're gonna use the shortcut, which is Alt and Shift, to make this polar, all right? And we're gonna tune it super high, as you can see. Now, we're gonna use the new feature, the new envelope designer, so we can make these even shorter. Look. We just really want this click. Okay? You can even, just tune it higher or lower, depending on what you want. But now we do have that so-called click. So we go from this body to almost a full sounding kick already. Next step would be turning on our oscillator C, okay? And here, instead of choosing the wavetable, we're gonna go into the sample, right? And on the sample mode, we're gonna choose this as one shot, right? That's how we want it to be, so it gets triggered every time. And here on the factory non-tonal, we've got drum, right? So you get kicks, and here on the kicks, we got plenty of cool, layers that we can use actually use on this oscillator as a layer. So let's start off by this DX, for instance. I'm gonna mute all of those oscillators before. You see, he adds that little, almost like addictive drummy kind of texture to the kick. Okay, so after we get our sample here, our oscillator in this case, we gonna, just scan it to choose the cooler part of the sample that we want. Actually, this is like the rate of the scan. This sounds pretty nice to me, but then we need to use an LFO also to kind of like shape it up, otherwise it's gonna sound too different from our main kick. So we're gonna choose the envelope mode, and we also gonna assign this to the level here. And one thing that is really important is like we wanna skip the initial part because we already have the transient there, the click there, so we don't want to kind of stack up loads of them, so things can get a little bit messy. So I'm gonna, just do a little bit of a fade in order for me to get just this part. That's kind of what we want, you know what I mean? And now I'm gonna open up filter 2, which is only gonna be assigned to oscillator C, so this way I can roll off a little bit of the lows, so I can control them, Something like this. We can even increase the level a bit. So now we have that texture, but it's not messing up with our transient like this would. Okay, it might even sound better later, but most of the times this is the way to go. So let's now start turning on all the other oscillators and mix them. You see, it's already kind of sounding pretty cool, but let's bring down this acoustic layer a little bit. You see, if you put it here, it doesn't sound bad, but not as clean as this, for sure. So let's tweak this kick deep a little bit. We can actually bring the kick lower, the main oscillator. Matter of going back to all of their parameters, and tweaking. This would be the shape of the main body. This would be the main pitch. And just showing you possibilities here. You see, you can pitch this higher if you want to. It's already sounding a bit more thumpier in this sense. Here would be the transient. You can also shape it up a bit if you want it to be a bit more present. LFO4 would create and shape up our acoustic layer. And to wrap it up, we're gonna create the next and the last LFO and send it to the level of our noise, okay? Because for this one, we're gonna create just that really like that sense of there's like a hi-hat playing in the bottom or on the top of it in this case. So that's what we're gonna try to do with this. So we assign this to the level, and we're gonna go to the new Serum noises here and choose the pink noise stereo. See, and now we want to be gentle with this. We don't want this to be too loud, neither too long. Okay, nice. So that would be a matter of coming here to the effects now and just doing some final EQ. Now we can raise up the lows a little bit. You can either put it like this, just increase the Q a bit, so the lower part of our kick gets a bit more in the forefront of the mix, and also the tops slash mids here. And then we can just compress it a little bit. Okay, we're gonna go into the single mode, like fast attack. I would go like halfway, increase the gain a bit, and bang, got a kick. That sounds quite acoustic-y and kind of like with funk coming straight out of Serum. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!